Hey, this is Andrew with socialvixen.com, and I'm here with...
I'm Bianca Pietro.
And Rachel Wendling.
And this is your first collection, right?
Yes, this is a collaborative line called Bianca Rachele. We just recently graduated from school, 2010, so this is our first collection. We've been working on it for about a year, and this is our line debut.
But we've been working together since our freshman year of college. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And where did you go to school again?
Philadelphia University.
That's great. And what designers do you guys think that you're most inspired by?
Personally, I'm most inspired by, obviously, like Alexander McQueen and John Galliano.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm very inspired by John Galliano's work as well.
Great. So if we can talk about some of your pieces.
Okay, so this is the first piece that we did, and our whole entire collection is inspired by the weather patterns of the springtime. So our first piece was right here, this romper, and we did a lot of hand manipulation techniques, a lot of hand pleating. We used natural fabrics, silk chiffons.
The collection goes, it's lightness to dark, so more inspired by warm rays and gentle showers to kind of the darker side of springtime as well, where we get more heavy into the beading techniques and fabric manipulations and like hand dyeing techniques that we've used. So it's a gradual progression from the light to dark. Well, there's something I wanted to say about the collection in general, and it's good to say with this piece because everything is open to customization. So if, like for example, I'm wearing this piece in black, and like if our client would want something, you know, without the strap or maybe in a different color, like it's open to customization, so we could change whatever.
It's really what we're all about, is customizing a garment for someone exactly what they want.
This piece is interesting. It starts off with the dyeing techniques that we use. So we dip dyed the bottom of this, and then we sewed in the hand pleated chiffon inserts. So it has really great movement to it when the model or when the person would walk in it. It opens up and you see this full skirt with the pleating.
For all of the pieces, we're really inspired by movement and the way that the model looks in the garment whenever she's walking.
Do you find that chiffon's hard for you guys to work with?
Definitely.
No.
Wait, really?
No, all fabrics. I just feel like nothing is too hard to handle. Like I just feel like it would be an excuse to say that it's hard to work with chiffon because you can become really good at it. And after this collection, I feel very comfortable working in chiffon.
I think the only thing that I have with chiffon is that you sew it and that's it. You don't mess up in chiffon. You know, if you go to seam rip something, like the pin tucks in the first piece, like we just did that one shot. You know, you don't get a second chance with chiffon.
It's true. It's just the nature of the fabric, but I feel like we've definitely conquered our technical sewing.
Have you had any pieces that you've had to like kind of redo several times because of the chiffon? Or?
Not several times, and only a couple of pieces that gave us a hard time.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, but we did all of this ourselves. We didn't, with the exception of the textile designer that we collaborated with, we sewed all of these pieces, designed them, patterned them, draped them, everything ourselves. So.
How many months have you been working on this collection?
We started the design process right after graduation in probably May of 2010, and we finished it.
We started
in September.
Yeah, we started like draping and pattern making all of the sketches that we worked on. So I mean, maybe like 8-9 months to be a little bit more realistic if you were to push it all together.
And this is while having full-time jobs on the side, you know. So I mean, it's a big.
What do you guys do on the side?
I do custom bridal,
okay.
And I manage a vintage boutique.
Okay.
And I'm a pattern maker for a contemporary ready-wear company.
Great.
We do a little bit of everything.
Sure.
Another thing that is inspiring to me, there's a lot of designers that I look up to, and they always say that they don't just design from straight on. You know, you rotate around the piece and you make sure it looks good at all angles. And McQueen said, you know, the side is the most unflattering part. So he designs from the side, and that way if it looks good from there, it'll look good from anywhere. So I really believe that if you walk around each of our pieces, there's something interesting and eye-catching on every part of it.
Another thing to note too about all of our pieces is that all of the dressets and corsets that you see have a very strong understructure, like a bustier, that really holds the model in, and that's something that makes each of our pieces like very special.
It's very unique to have so much handwork go into pieces. People don't. It's a craft that's dying, and I think it's very important that we've learned this. I mean, Rachel has learned it from a couture designer in England, and I learned it from a European teacher from school. So I mean, it's
really in many
that,
ways people could look at this collection as a revolt against what's happening in the industry right now.
Yeah.
With mass production, we're against it.
So you have made in the USA, stamped big on everything.
Made in New
York. Basically.
Yeah.
Even more expensive, okay.
Yeah, but this is one of the backs to the pieces, so it's very delicate, lace up.
Very feminine, romantic.
No, I mean, personally, I love corset backs because I actually wear a lot of dresses myself, and I don't have a whole lot to keep a dress up. So a corset back definitely.
And it can give you an amazing waist.
It does, definitely.
This we actually have padded hips
With
in,
emphasized
too.
The hips look
So it'll give
really
you, like,
amazing. Actually, can we
great
turn
waist
this back around?
Sure.
I really love the hips on here. It kind of reminds me of kind of some of the more elegant shoulder.
For this silhouette, we just love the thin waist, and then it comes out gradually. It's not too dramatic, but
Yeah, it's feminine, you embrace the curvature of the female form, and you just, don't want to hide that. Just accentuate it.
emphasize your curves.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is one of the most feminine dresses that we have in the collection, and it really shows off our interest in hand dyeing tulle, hand dyeing chiffons, and playing around with fabric manipulation techniques. All the techniques that you see here at the bottom of the skirt and the pin tucks, we just came up, we sort of thought about it organically. It was like we were discovering different ways to play around with fabric. So
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it because it's so fine and so delicate, but there's about 10 yards of fabric, in this skirt, which is, amazing to have such an immense amount of fabric look so delicate and feminine. These are all hand pin tucks. This is actually organza over satin to take away some of that shine and just to make it look more subdued. We have this technique again on the shoulder.
this technique is it's an organic technique that we also played around with, and it's all crocheted yarns. The way that we crocheted it, we didn't stick to a specific method. We just wanted to explore and come up with our own technique for this.
Yeah, these are three separate pieces. So it's a top, a bias draped top, full circle, with gray piping inside, and then we have these petal teardrop capris in a crepe de chine, so they're so light, very comfortable.
I really like the detailing. If you can get in on the side here, you can see that there's a little bit of a upside down V pattern, which I think is really interesting.
And that's a charmeuse piping as well.
And all of these have very interesting backs to them too.
Sure, do we want to lift back?
We really like to create movement of the eye through each piece. So if it starts somewhere, it ends somewhere else. We don't have any cut off ends, so
Sure.
it just goes right around.
It's all part of the movement of the design.
I think that's great. I really like the print on this next dress.
I love this.
This is, we worked with Catherine LeBate. She's a textile designer who also went to Philadelphia University. And she designed these and actually made these jacquard prints for us. So they're all custom made. This as well is hand dyed.
We hand dyed it and wrinkled it in a certain way because we didn't want it to be a plain silk satin. We wanted it to have texture and dimension to it.
For some of the viewers that might not know what jacquard is, can you explain what that is for them?
Jacquard is a really unique kind of woven fabric. They are made on, this width is 65-inch width, and they're, without getting too technical with the terms, so you can understand, I guess, but they're individually controlled picks with the needles that make the woven, so it doesn't have to be any kind of repetitive pattern. You could do portraits of people, you could do anything you want pretty much. You can change the colors. One of the prints that we have, there's a different pattern in each like paisley. It's a paisley kind of.
This design started
But-
with a sketch, went into the computer, and then it was made on the jacquard machine. And it's so
computer
interesting that you can
programmed.
do this by hand,
So
put it
you-
into the computer, like it's that easy.
So yeah, she designed the pattern, put it into the computer, decided what weaves she wanted where, and then it goes with a chip into the jacquard loom, which is ginormous and has thousands of needles, and
It's very mathematical and technical.
and
That's what it
loud
comes down to.
when it
So
goes
we love
very
what the
loud.
textile designer does and is capable of doing.
It's really unique to be able to do something like this. There's so many, well, first of all, schools that don't even have the actual looms anymore, but also in this country, it's very rare to get that kind of production. So I mean, for an idea, a custom jacquard could range like, it's very expensive, just anywhere from starting at $200 probably up per yard.
Sure.
So this dress is actually two separate pieces. The sheer piece can be taken off and it can be worn without. And you can also wear the sheer piece on top of, another dress if you prefer to do so. Underneath you can see the textile, the jacquard. It's basically the same print but different colors that she used for this dress.
Can we see the back also?
Like once again, we're doing that feminine curvature form, so to accentuate the body. It's very slimming though too, like in the front especially.
That hourglass figure,
Gives
but doing
an
it in a
illusion.
different way. Yeah, this next top kind of just explores, once again, like the idea of hand dyeing the tulle, hand dyeing the chiffon. We want to come up with like a bunch of different layers and make this kind of like the flirty piece. So this is like, the top of this is like a shirt separate from the shorts, and these shorts also show like the hand manipulation technique that we came up with to do for the top.
The shorts here are probably one of our most simple pieces, but because we want to keep that idea of custom, original, one of a kind, we made our own kind of fabric here by doing those manipulation techniques on it.
Is this
also-
piece here part of the shorts or part of the
This
top?
is part of the shorts.
Oh, okay.
So it's a high waist yoke
Okay.
for the short.